Hey guys, I'm Rhonda
And I'm Nette.
and welcome to
In Mourning Comes.
Mourning Comes.
Scream, cry, yell, why did it have to happen? It hurt so bad. You thought the pain would never end. We've come to share some hope and help you realize the sun will rise again. That's when morning
Great morning, everybody. Welcome back to When Mourning Comes with Rhonda and Nette.
You introduced me today.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't know that you. Sorry. Okay. So, if you are joining us for the very first time, we want to say welcome. Welcome to this space. Just in case you do not know, this space was created specifically for people who are experiencing grief. We consider them riders because this grief thing is like a roller coaster. So if you're on this journey, if you're riding this ride as a griever, this space was created for you. It was also created for people who are sitting beside you and helping you through this process of grief. So we call them the supporters. But then it may be also for those who are on the ground and they're looking up saying, can you get off this roller coaster because we tired of you crying and screaming and yelling and all those great things. This space was created for everybody. And so today is just a little bit different. We got a few ladies in the audience who may be riders, they may be supporters, they may be on the ground, but they're all here because we didn't want it just to be a space for us, but we wanted it to be able to be a space for others to come and feel comfortable knowing that whatever they're experiencing in this grief journey, it's okay. So, if this is your first time, welcome. If this is the second episode that you are catching, thank you. You guys have been so amazing with the support and just texting and calling and emailing and commenting, sharing and liking. It's been overwhelmingly a blessing. It was not expected. The response was not what we expected, but we knew that this was something that people needed because we needed it. And if we needed it, I knew we weren't the only two people in the world that were experiencing some of the things that we were experiencing. So it's just been overwhelming with the support and the response. So thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
I think that's all I was going to do as my welcome. I'm going to turn it over to Nette because I think she got a little morning news that she wants to talk about.
Rhonda did mention that today is a little different with us recording. You may see me looking out a little bit more because we invited a few women in to have a live audience to join in with us. So while I'm talking to you guys, I'm also talking to them as well. And some of the women in this audience, they are women that we found on this journey very supportive of us, even with them being grievers themselves. They supported us very well. So we decided to invite them into this space to join in with us. So I thank them for that. We're going to give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
So if the camera pans to them, wave at them digitally or through your screen, through the TV, and tell them, hey, if you see them and you know them. Just a few morning rules. We don't have a lot morning news. Again, be mindful in the comments. If you're watching this live, comment, let us know where you're from. Let us know who you are. Comment while we're talking. If there's something you enjoy, put it in the comment box. But again, be respectful, be mindful. I didn't have to come out the bag on y'all last week because y'all did your big one. You did good. So I want to keep it that way. I know there may be some things that you may not agree with. There may be some things we may say that kind of, I don't know about that. But again, y'all were pretty good in the comments, so we appreciate that. And that's about it. Be respectful, be mindful of this space. Again, we like to thank John Winston, our sponsor. He's of Connecting the Dots. A lot of you said you were going to reach out.
Yes.
That's good. Yes. That means y'all were listening and watching. We thank you. So we appreciate you guys. Just keep it coming. Again, the show will air every month at the last Wednesday of every month. I saw you come in.
We received all of the requests.
I know y'all want us to record a little bit more. However, y'all must remember this is a heavy topic for us to dive in. Like, and of course, we've talked about it with each other a lot, but opening up to talk to other people about it, that's a different type of feeling. So that's why we chose every month. Just bear with us. But in between those months, we promise you, we're going to put out content. We're going to put out reels, different type of things, so you won't miss us. So remember to follow us on all of our platforms. Facebook, When Mourning Comes. Instagram, _ When Mourning Comes. Also subscribe, YouTube. So when the live pops up for the show, you will get a little notification. You'll feel special, and you'll be able to tune in. So I think that's about it for the morning news. Yeah. So you ready to get into?
We're gonna jump right into it.
We're gonna jump right into it.
Yeah. So we talked about last time. We did a little introduction as far as why we're here. We talked a little bit about grief and normalizing grief and letting everybody know that how you grieve and the way that you grieve is okay. We talked about grief being it's not linear. It's not something that is going to be step by step. You're going to do this first, and then you're going to do this next, and then it's going to look like this. It's going to be different for everybody, and that's why we liken it to a roller coaster. You get on the roller coaster ride, I mean, you see it, you see the turns, but when you're in that seat, you're not ready for the turn when it comes. It just snatch you over here, you know what I'm saying? And before you know it, you're going every which way. And so we talked about that a little bit. And then what I also recognized, Nette and I was talking, and we do a lot of reading and listening to other people that are grieving. And we heard somebody say that grief is like love with nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? It's just the love that you have for, be it someone that you lost or something or whatever you're grieving, it's just bottled up, and now you have nowhere to put it. You have no person to connect it to. And so a lot of people ask us, as a matter of fact, right after the episode, we were asked a lot of questions. And one of the questions that somebody asked me was, well, Rhonda, does it get better? Or, you know, how are you able to get to point B or point C? You know, does it get easier? Does it? And the best way I can answer that question for her, I told her for me, and I told y'all I'm a counselor, so a lot of things I'm going to say is not going to just be clinical. It's just going to be from my experience. For me, I can't say that it gets better. I can't tell anybody that it gets easier. I cannot lie and tell you that from year 1 to year 2, the pain gets
automatically goes away.
It goes away, or even that it is not as intense. I can't say that.
Yeah.
But what I can say for Rhonda is that as time goes by, I respond to the triggers or to the pain differently than I did before. But the pain is still the same. It's just as intense. It's just as hurtful. The heat is just as hot. It doesn't change. So when she asked that question, I told her it doesn't get better. It just gets different. I express it different. It comes out different. And so what we recognize is there's a difference between grief and mourning. Light bulb. There's a difference between grief and mourning. And so we started looking into it, and we recognize that what we want to do is move from grieving so much to a place of mourning. And that's why we wanted to title the podcast When Mourning Comes, because there's a time when you're going through your grief that you get to mourning. And when mourning finally comes, then that's when you start to see progress. You start to see yourself responding differently. It doesn't feel painless. It doesn't hurt any less, but you're just responding differently. And so we like to think that that's when we have entered into a space of mourning. So that's why we titled the podcast When Mourning Comes.
Which leads us to the meat of what the podcast is about today. So I know y'all see these lovely pink and red shirts. This is Valentine's themed. We're doing Valentine's Day. So by this time, when the show airs, Valentine's will have already passed. So we named this little particular space a Galentines for the Grievers. So you see our love earrings, more earrings. Intentionally, we did that because now we're going to really discuss love. Mm-hmm. The title of this episode is Love in Mourning. Mm-hmm. And we're not necessarily talking about love, how you love like in a relationship love, but the love you find within mourning. and defining what grief is. Like she said, grief is just simply love with nowhere to go. So we're going to break down to keep us outline, and
so we'll know where
so we can know where we're going, so you can understand it better. We're going to break down the word love, and that's how we're going to lead this episode. So the L in love is going to be learning the difference between mourning and grief, because a lot of people don't know the difference between mourning and grief. They think it's the same thing. So I'm going to get Rhonda to describe to us the difference. She kind of told you a little bit in what she just said, but what's the difference between mourning and grief? How would you describe what that is?
Now, I'm not going to say how would I describe, because I took the definition from, I try to look at a lot of different tools and educational things. So there's a guy named David Kessler, Kessler, in case somebody wants to look him up. When I say he is like the grief guru, he is just if you want to talk about grief, find him, and he is going to give you some tips, and not just tips on things that you can experience during grief, but kind of like what this podcast is for. People who are supporters of grief, things they should not say. Don't say this to a griever. Don't do this to a griever. He's just a really good resource for me. And so part of the way he described grief and, differentiated grief from mourning is, so when you think about grief is the internal feelings that are reactions to the loss. So it's more so the things that are inside and the reaction of the things that are inside that you're experiencing because of the loss. So you think about the sadness, the depression, the anger, the frustration, the anxiety, the fear, the all of those things that are inside that you really can't see, that causes, the way I describe it, this overwhelming heat that's rising from my feet all the way up. It's on the inside, and that's what you kind of consider grief to be. So when you are crying and you're can't get out the bed, and you know what I'm saying, you have those moments when you don't want to talk, you know what I'm saying, you have those moments when you can't sleep, the insomnia, all of those things that are inward on the inside, the reaction of the loss. That's kind of like what you want to look at grief as being.
And when you said, when we read it, because I don't know, I keep going back to that grief is love with nowhere to go. And I'm like, that explains it all. It explains why we get so angry, why we get so mad. Because just imagine it. One day your spouse, your mom, your loved one is here, and you're used to calling them, and you're used to talking to them, and you're used to, when you want to give them a hug to show how you feel, you can hug them, you can kiss them. When I want to lay across her bed and just lay in her arms, I could do that. But then one day they're gone. Mm-hmm. That love that I could once just get up and go give her, that hug, that kiss, that physical touch, I cannot do that anymore. So now I have all of this love for a person that I cannot physically go and touch and feel. So it turns into anger. It turns into depression. It turns into sadness. It turns into frustration, because that love is now pent in, and I cannot give it to my mom any longer. I cannot give that love to my husband, my spouse, my sister, my whoever. I can't give that to them any longer. Mm-hmm. So now I'm mad. I'm raging. I'm upset. And it took me back to a time, the time after it happened. And I know in the first episode we talked about how I had to sleep in the bed with you, because literally I could not go sleep in the bed by myself, because I had thoughts of, what if I don't get up? Mm-hmm. And I also had thoughts of, what if I wake up and then I wake up to somebody else gone? Yeah. So while I was in the bed with you, this was like a day or two after it happened, all I could do, y'all, was moan. All night I moaned. I was moaning and I was crying. And like you said, you could sleep. So you were asleep. You were knocked out. But I was just sitting in the bed rocking, moaning and crying, because that was that love that I had from my mom. I had nowhere for it to go. So I just moaned and I cried. And Rhonda Pope, she would try to be asleep. She would try to get some sleep, but then she'll try to be there for me at the same time. Like sometimes she'll just slide her hand under the pillow, and I catch her grabbing my hand, and she'll just hold it, and I'll just rock and I'll just moan, because it hurt so bad that I no longer could pour out their love. And we loved Mama out loud.
I mean,
We loved her out loud. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a time that we did not love her out loud, be it buying her gifts, be it just giving her a hug,
in the room,
just sitting in the room with her. So now, all of a sudden, I couldn't love on my mama. And so that turned into me being so angry. For days, people would come over, and I would just sit in the chair and I'd rock and moan. And I couldn't understand it. But that was that grief that had, that love that turned into grief. So you talked about the grief and how, it's that inwardly. But
wait, when you said something that made me think about, you were saying that you would get angry.
Yeah.
I found myself resenting people.
Oh, yeah.
I would harbor so much
Get
resentment
triggered
in my heart. And it was, like you said, it was love with nowhere to go to, where now I am resentful. I get so resentful, and it almost was jealous. And I had to ask God to forgive me. I almost felt like I'm sinning for feeling the way that I'm feeling, because I'm resentful when I'm walking in the store and I see other people shopping with their mama, and I'm saying, why I can't shop with my mama?
Why?
Like, we went to Walmart the other day. You know what I'm saying? Why? Let me rephrase.
Not Walmart.
Not Walmart.
Not going to walk around Walmart.
But we went to Walgreens. You know what I'm saying? Or we went out to eat, and I was resenting people if they was walking with their mama. I was resenting people people would say, well, I'm going to celebrate my mama's birthday. She turning 95 today. And I'm saying, why my mama couldn't turn 95?
She couldn't make it to 95.
You know what I'm saying? It was, oh my God. And I think I would tell Nette, like, I shouldn't feel this way. I should not be this mad at people for still enjoying their mom.
Yeah.
I should not.
But we were.
But I was. And that's just the reality of it. I was mad. I would get so angry if somebody, and that's why I had to stop counseling for a while, because I had to deal with my own grief. Because if somebody come in my counseling office and they want to talk about my mama, and I'm pissed off because my mama did, I'm saying, I can't talk about this. I cannot help you through this right now, because I got to get to a point where I'm better, because right now I'm mad at you.
Because I don't have the opportunity to say I'm mad at my mom.
I can't say I'm mad at my mom.
She pissed me off because she said I couldn't bring her something from the store.
I no.
And you remember that day we went into another store and we were walking around and we both stopped at the same time because the girl was on the phone and she was like, "Oh, mama, yeah, ha ha." She laughed and we both looked at each other and we were like,
"I gotta go,"
because that's stuff we would do. So, yeah.
It was difficult. Like I said, I felt like at points that I just had to ask God to forgive me, because I'm saying, Rhonda, you can't be walking around here with that much anger and bitterness. That's the word I really want to use. I was bitter. I was bitter. I was bitter. I remember somebody said, when you lost your mama, well, I'll share my mama with you.
Your mama ain't my mama, baby.
I know they meant well. Oh my God. And that's what I mean by this space, is to help people, that when other people are grieving on things that you should or should not say, I know they meant well. I can't share your mom. I won't buy it. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to grief, those are the inward feelings that you are going to experience. It's those things that can't nobody see. Can't nobody see anger and resentment boiling on the inside of you. Can't nobody see it. But then what we will hope is that eventually we get to mourning. Because what mourning is the outward, external expression.
Which brings us to the O of love. The outward. That's it. Make sure we following the guideline.
Okay. So when you get to mourning, it's more of the outward, external expression of the grief that you're experiencing. So whereas grief is internal, it's the anger, it's the frustration, it's the bitterness, it's the resentment, you get to mourning and it's the making meaning, it's the memorializing, it's the talking about her, it's the podcast. It's the podcast.
It's when you get to a place to where you're now okay with talking about your loved one. And I know for a lot of people, because we got messages where people were saying, I want to watch a podcast, but I can't right now. Like, it's still triggering me. And it's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get upset with them because I know some people, for some, they're not ready.
They're not there yet.
Be it 2 months or 2 years or 20 years. It's okay. But for us, I think the way that we cope, the way that we feel better, we gotta talk about her. We talked about her when she was here. So why stop now? Because we're in this space. So talk about her loudly was our outward way of showing our mourning. Like, we haven't forgotten about her. We're still feeling those feelings. So, but instead of crying and screaming, like we would want to, we rather choose to say her name out loud. So yeah, I'm gonna put her name on Facebook and I'm gonna talk about it all the time. You may get tired of it, but that's my way of mourning.
That's right.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get a picture of her blowed up 50 times. That's my way of mourning. That's my outward way of expressing.
You mentioned last time how that at home in my office downstairs, it used to be a space that I could just kind of go get away, but we turned it into a little replica of Mama's house. Well, not the whole house,
the living room,
but, just the living room. Because when you went to my mama's house, and my mama, we weren't any extravagant livers. We had like a little 2-bedroom house in the city. You know what I'm saying? But when you walked in, you just felt like home. Oh, I could just get on this couch and crawl up and just sit and talk and laugh and
she made you feel loved.
My mama made you feel so loved. So when you walked in the house and you just get in the living room, that's like where we congregated. That's where we were. And so we'll share a little bit more about our story as it relates to the house as the podcast go on. But we don't have that house to go to anymore. We don't have the ability to say, well, I'm going to go by, no, we don't. So we turned my office into a little living room. So we got her chair that she was sitting in and her rug and her curio. And in her curio was still some little crystals that she swear down was real crystals. But they were just some glass figurines she got out of Walgreens. But she loved them. And we got all those things. And so to me, mourning is when I can go and sit in there. And I can sit in that chair. And I can get a blanket and I can just think about, the conversations that we've had sitting in that chair in that living room. So that's mourning to me, and for everybody it's going to be different. It's a place to where you can get to a point to where, like Nette said, you can talk about it. And some people are going to believe that if they bring up whatever you've lost, be it the divorce, the marriage, or a loved one, if they bring it up, it's going to make you sad. So when they get around you, they purposely don't talk about it, or they purposely avoid it.
Or feel weird about it.
They feel weird.
But I actually tell people, I've told friends, like, I remember getting back when I finally came back to work after taking a sabbatical from work after she's had. I walked in and everybody was like, and I was like, y'all, it's okay. And so they was like, okay. And so somebody came into the office and wanted to ask me specifically about her or that day. And they were like, oh, I don't know if I want to bring them. I was like,
they so timid, as my auntie would say.
Thank you for respecting me. And thank you for being timid. But you can talk about her. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to talk about the day or what happened or the service. Talk about her. Mm-hmm. So if you come up to me and say, I knew your mama. Your mama was X. Your mama was Y. Your mama was Z. I loved it. Let's talk about it. I can talk all day about that woman. Mm-hmm. So that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. So I think when people get to understand you, mm-hmm. they get to understand where you are. It's a little better. Mm-hmm. Which brings us to V.
Okay.
I feel like, and we've talked a lot. Yeah. It's goofy. We've talked a lot to the grievers. I want to stop and talk to the supporters of the grievers, which brings us to V. I feel like the strongest way to love somebody, especially during their grief, is to love them out loud. Allow them to be seen. Allow them to feel heard. Allow them to feel like they are safe around you. which is why you should get you some very important and safe people.
That's right.
To surround you while you're grieving. Sadly, you will realize after losing your loved one, a lot of people that you were once friends with or maybe close to, some of them will kind of ease on by, and they will no longer be your safe people because they're no longer comfortable with who you are. Of course, after you lose somebody, you become somebody else. And so the person you were before you lost your someone,
or whatever you're grieving,
you're no longer that person. So it makes them uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to be there for you anymore. So either they fall off, they tend to pull back, or now it's,
I'd be glad when you get back to being the person that you were, because that's what I used to get. Where's the Rhonda that we used to know? Where's the Rhonda that was coming out doing A, B, and C? And Ned, this the line that would burn me to the teeth.
I know what you're finna say.
Because your mama wouldn't want you to stop. Your mama wouldn't want you to stop saying, and I'm saying,
if you knew Gloria Jean wanted us to do whatever was best for us. If we said, Mama, we want to go shoot marbles on the corner of Capitol, if she felt like that was going to help us become better,
she was going to say, well, baby, what color mamas you going to
I'm going down the Dollar Street and buying you some right now. But that's just the type of mom we had. So when people would come and tell us,
can you get back to that?
Get back to that, because your mama wouldn't want. Yes, she would.
And then I'm trying to get other people to understand that you telling me to get back to that Rhonda. This is what I need y'all to hear. That Rhonda doesn't exist. And people used to get mad at me when I say, that particular Rhonda died with my mama.
That Rhonda
had her mama. This Rhonda does not have her. So this is a whole new Rhonda that, number one, not only do I have to get to know again, I have to learn.
I'm learning myself.
For fresh. You gonna have to get to know her. And if you can't, then you might not be able to be in this Rhonda's life.
So if I'm learning myself right now on this journey, how do you expect me to be somebody for you or this and that for you when I don't understand who I am right now? And so with that, grieving mama, I also had to grieve the loss of me and the loss of people I thought were safe. The people that I could once go to dinner with and eat with, and now I can't because you're scared to be around me because you don't know if I'm gonna get triggered, or if I'm gonna cry, or you don't know what to talk about now. So it's uncomfortable for you, so you pull away. So in this grief, on this grief journey, we found some very safe people. Now we didn't find them. They were always there. And they have always stood beside us within this grief journey. On the last episode, I was gonna say I remember. I told y'all on the day that it happened that I called my aunt first. She actually was not the first person, and this girl is gonna kill me. Bringing this up, but hey, she's gonna be okay. The first person I actually called was my best friend, and I called my best friend. Now, I'm not going to go into her story because that's her story to tell, but she had lost her mom some years ago before. So when I called her, I said, hey, something is wrong with mom. I just can't get her up. And so she was like, okay, I'm on my way. And so she came in and she walked in the door, and I was sitting in the chair. And I was just sitting there, just rocking back and forth, the chair that we say Mama always sat. That was Mama's chair. And I was rocking back and forth. And she looked at me. She said, it's okay. I said, And so it was only us. And she said, she in the bed? I said, yeah. So she went back there. So by this time, the ambulance had showed up. And so I got up to jump up to try to see what I could do, how I could help. But she said, it's okay. She kind of directed me back to the couch. She said, just sit down. I said, Veronica, I don't know what to do right now. I said, where is Mom okay? She was like, yeah, she's okay. They're going to go back here and they're going to see what they can do. Now, I'm knowing that, Mom is gone. She knows Mom is gone because she had been back there. But in that moment, protection. I have to keep her safe. So I'm going to tell her whatever I need to tell her to keep her safe, to keep her calm. And so I was rocking on the couch. By that time, it had hit me, and I was just pacing. And she came and she said, "You okay?" I said, "Oh, what did they say? Have they got it back?" She said, "They're still working on her. They weren't really working on her, but she still was that protection." So I saw them ended up leaving out, and I was like, "Veronica, what they say?" She said, and that whole entire time, like y'all, that took a very special person to be in that space right there with me, because she could have acted out of her emotions. She could have, in that moment thought about self, but she put all of that aside. You know what I'm saying? That could have triggered her to think about her mom. She put all of that aside to be there for me. Mm-hmm. And so she stayed there the entire day with me to make sure that I was okay. Fast forward to and like you said, when I walked in. Yeah. When I walked in, she standing there, she grabbed you. Rhonda? Because I ran there. I know I probably almost knocked her down. Bless her sweetheart. She grabbed me. She said I tackled her. I did not tackle her. And she grabbed me, Rhonda. Wait a minute. And I'm saying, Veronica, you got to move. Okay, I'm going to move. I'm going to move. But you're going to wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, okay, I got to listen to Veronica today. Yeah. I needed somebody to put me in a place to where I can have sense. And then, y'all, this is the funny part I remember. I pulled out my phone. And, at that moment, you're just not thinking about nothing. Nothing is making sense. I'm in my phone. Hey, mama, just anybody that answer. I don't even know who I was calling. Old teachers. Hey, my mama just wrong said. Give me that phone. She came and got the phone. She hugged it up. She put it in her pocket. And so then, like we said about our childhood home, we'll dig deeper into the childhood home situation later on. But there was a point in time we had to move. Now, this is why we are grieving. We're prepping for services for Mama. This is the week of Mama's passing. So they tell us, hey, y'all gotta get out this house in 2 weeks. So now we gotta clean out of a house that we've been in 30-something years. 20-something, yeah. 20-something, 30-something years. We had nobody to help us. Veronica pulled up. I hadn't called Veronica. She came in, she asked no questions. And she picked up, she grabbed, she did whatever. She cleaned like we was cleaning. And I remember we were standing in the doorway of your room, and you were sitting on your bed, and you were just kind of rocking out. Just sitting there. I didn't know what to do, y'all. I sat on the bed, and I was just rocking and moaning. Because think about it. I just lost my mom. Now I've lost my home. And now I have to pack up 25, 30 years of stuff. And I'm sitting here like, where do I even start? And I turned and screamed. And she turned and screamed. Like I always do. And then looked at me, turned to me, and grabbed my face and said, "Why aren't you screaming?" And I'm like, Rhonda, that was how you choose it. We talk about grieving in 2 perspectives. That's how you choose to mourn and grieve right now. I cannot scream. I'm mute. I can't say a word. It hurts so bad to where I can't even open my mouth. So, yeah, Veronica helped us clean. It was us 3 that whole week, scrubbing, scraping, and not to mention she was still working. Fast forward on to the service, the day of. I'm sitting in my room, and I cannot move. It's the service. I'm getting ready for what? I can't believe I'm getting ready for this. That girl came in, and she said, okay. She took off shirts, clothes. She put on my clothes. She got my hair ready. So that's what I mean about getting those safe people to surround you. And like I said, she could have used, hey, I'm triggered. I can't be around you like this because I know how it feels, but she didn't. And she wasn't the only one. We had a few people. It was a lot of people that stuck around, but right. It was 2 specific people that for sure stayed with us throughout the whole entire thing, and that was Veronica and my best friend Dalisha. Bless her heart. Lord bless her. She gonna kill me too. But this day, like we said, we want to just make sure that we love on people. You know what I'm saying? And Dalisha loved on us. She's been there for years. For years. She has been there. And there are times when I remember when she lost her mom.
And I think back to the experiences that she and I had, you know, going through her mom's transition. And I sit back and I say, I don't think I was there for Dalisha the way
I'm so glad you said that.
Is there for me, because
We both
when you're
said
grieving, when you're grieving, you have a different perspective of things. You get to go back and look at retrospect and say, this is what I'm needing right now. Dalisha and Veronica probably needed that too, but we didn't know how to give it. We didn't know what that felt like. Yeah. We had never experienced that kind of loss to know that this is what they needed. So the day of, when Nette called and I got there and run in the house and tackle Veronica, like she said, I tackled her. I don't think I tackled. But after I tackled Veronica and I finally got to my phone, I called my husband because I just left the house. When they called and said, Nette called and said, I can't wake up, Mom, I just left. I didn't tell Jeff nothing. I said, I gotta go to the house. And they said something wrong with Mom. So I had to call him to say, Jeff. And when I hung up from him, because I called Dalisha, and I just remember saying, Di. And she said, what's wrong? And I said, she gone. And she said, who? And I said, Mama. And I'm hearing in the background, Dalisha, listen, Dalisha is a sports mom. Dalisha go to 12 soccer games, 19 baseball games, 14 bowling tournaments in one Saturday. Okay? So I'm hearing in the background screaming. So I know she at somebody's something. And I say, she's gone. And she said, I'm on my way. She left Poe Jeremiah. I think that was his baseball. Some game he was at, just left him. I think her sister was there, but I don't know. She just left him. And the next thing I knew, she was there. And she did the same thing for Monica. She took my phone. I don't know where my phone went after that. But I didn't call anybody else. But she took my phone, and from that moment, she was there to see. Okay, and let me say this. When we say get you some safe people that know you enough to where even months afterwards, we can be out to eat, or we can be at work, or we can be in a dinner party, anything. Get out. And I just feel her watching me. And now I look. What? And she's like, I'm just looking. But she's watching because there comes a time when this social meter that grief has now created will turn off. And I'm saying, I'm triggered, I'm ready to go, but I'm not saying anything. And she can see it. She can see it come over me, and she'll ease up. It'll be.
I remember we was at a birthday dinner. We tried to go to a birthday dinner a couple of months, both of us, and she was sitting on the edge of the table. And I think there was something that was stated about Mom or something like that. And I think either you or me, one of us kind of got emotional, and she looked and she said, come on. Now everybody else was, nobody paid. And she was saying, come out. Come to the bar. Come to the bathroom. Because she paid attention.
She was watching.
Those are safe people. And like you said, like when we tried to be the best friends that we could be doing their Mom's transition. Like I just knew that I was doing the best that I could.
But you were doing
what I knew
with what we knew.
Yeah. Right. So when I sat down after I went through this with Mama, I told Rhonda, I said, there's no way my best friend did this by herself.
Right.
There's no way. Because if I wouldn't have had the people that I had around me, I probably would not be here today. And so, nope, ease back up.
Well, you talking to the tears.
So I said, there's no way she did this by herself. So now, like, I spend the rest of my days, like, every day now, like, honoring my best friend. And we honor Dalisha whichever way. And not just them two. I promise you it's not just them two. Mama Lisa in the audience, our cousins, like, all of you all that's here. And we have some friends that every day was checking in on us. Or when we're out somewhere, you're looking at us at the side, out the corner of your eyes, making sure like something didn't trigger us. Something didn't, set us off and we didn't need to step out. Like we're so grateful. And that's what we call important people, very safe people. surround yourself. If you're a griever, surround yourself with those kind of people. And sadly and unfortunately, it won't be the people that you're normally used to hanging with.
It won't be the people
It
that
won't
you
be the
thought
people
would
you
be
thought
there.
would be there.
It will not.
But it'll be people that God will pretty much place into your life and say, this is who you're going to need on your journey. This is who will help you heal on this journey. These are the people you can call and just sit sit in your space with you. They may not feel what you feel, they may not understand, but they will empathize and make you feel safe. And that's what we need as a griever, to feel safe in the space that we're in. So we have some flowers. We're not going to make them come up, Dalisha, Veronica, but we wanted to just honor them today. And so for the griever, honor your safe people that's in your life. We have some nice little blue. Okay, we'll give it to them afterwards. But honor those people in your life. Surround yourself with those safe people that you know that you can count on.
And that's how you get to mourning.
That's how you get to mourning.
Is you gotta. There's a couple of things that help you get there. You get to mourning by talking about it. Grief. I'm gonna keep talking about David Kessler. David Kessler says grief needs to be witnessed.
Yes.
We were not created to go through this type of thing by ourselves. I remember hearing a pastor say that if we were to experience the totality of grief and trauma at one time, just all of the emotions,
wipe us out.
It would probably kill us.
Yeah.
Because it's so much. It's so heavy. It's so like I said, it's like a wave. And I think Tyler Perry even talked about grief coming in waves. And waves sometimes will be small little waves that'll just wash up on the shore, come back. Sometimes a wave will come in like a tsunami and take a whole town out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's what grief is. And we were not designed to experience that on an island by ourselves. Because one thing I thank God that He allows us to experience triggers. And to me, a trigger is a blessing. It doesn't feel like it when you're experiencing a trigger, but a trigger is a blessing because that's just a little reminder, number one, that it happened.
Yeah.
They lived.
Yeah.
It's a reminder of the love that you had for them, that you still have. But then it also gives you a little bit of opportunity to experience that pain, little pieces at a time. Not like a tsunami, because a tsunami, baby, will snatch you up out of here.
That'll take you out.
It just little by little you can experience that. And so one thing about that is you want to have people that you feel safe to witness your grief. It has to be witnessed. And in witnessing and talking about it, you got to then get you some people that you feel comfortable talking about it with. You got to.
After a while, like me and Rhonda had talked so much to each other, we were like, phew. And we still talk to each other about it. What we was like, but it's like I've talked, sometimes we needed to talk to people about our own perspective.
That's right.
We were grieving at the same time, so I couldn't always go to my sister. I know she would always be there, but you would need people that you could talk to, and like getting those safe people. Thank God they weren't the type of people that were like, they wanted to hear about it. They wanted to sit in the space and be like, okay, I've been waiting on you to talk about your mom with me. Like, let's hear. And they weren't waiting on the details. They weren't waiting on the what happens. They were waiting on the how are you? The where's your mental? How are you in this space? What can we talk about? How can I be there for you? And so they were waiting on that.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, we needed specific people, like you said, to be able to share from our personal perspectives what was happening. I used to call, like, me and Nette, sometimes I need to talk about her. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he was going there.
I can't talk about her. My mama would be the one I would call and say, Mama, your daughter,
and vice versa.
And she would call Mama and say, Mama, your daughter, and Mama would call me. You and your sister still upset.
And that's not her laughing, that's her crying.
It would hurt her. Rhonda, y'all gonna talk. Well, I can't call Mama and talk to Mama about Nette. I needed to be able to have some safe people. So now I might call Brooke. Or I might call Veronica. I don't know what I'm gonna do about your best friend. Or I might call Dalisha. Dalisha, look, little sister. This is, you know what I'm saying? I need to be able to feel safe to share, and I don't want to, you know what I'm saying, talk about her.
And those people don't talk about us or to, like if I call Rhonda and say, Rhonda did this, Veronica say, Rhonda did this. She's not going to say, well, you know, Rhonda, She going to say, well, Nette, what happened? Okay, now how did it happen? Okay, you know how the both of y'all are. It's never going to be a bashing moment to where it's time to so, and that's again being safe.
That's right.
Because you don't need somebody that's going to join in. Girl, I knew y'all weren't really just all that fake love and y'all close.
And then calling, telling everybody else, child,
it didn't go like that. No, it's just I need an opportunity to be, because this is something that I used to do with my mama all the time. And again, she was that person. She was not going to take sides. It was going to be, well, you know your sister. Well, what did you do? What did you say? So those were people that were safe. And so I want you as a griever, if you're watching as a griever, to find you some safe people. I promise you, they're going to help you. And don't be ashamed or afraid to talk about your grief. You should not be afraid and ashamed to talk about your grief. And with safe people comes therapy and therapists, which is why we're going to kind of wrap up and end it, the E in love, here.
Look at you, that's so sweet.
And talk about getting you a safe person, a therapist. If you feel like there's nobody that's in your life, and I hate that. I hate to hear people say, I don't have friends or support, because I feel like everybody should have a good support system. But if you feel like you don't, therapy. Therapy. I'm an advocate for therapy. Being a safe person. And if you need to find a therapist, Psychology Today. We recommended it last week. A lot of people reached out and told me they had never heard of it, but it was a blessing. You can get on Psychology Today and you can curate it how you want it. So if you want, you can filter it to, if I want a male, female, African American, Caucasian, Christian, non-Christian, telehealth, in person, virtual, whatever the case is, you can put that on Psychology Today and find you a therapist. And also,
I want to remind you about Jonathan Winston of Connecting the Dots Therapy. I know we're gonna talk about Jonathan Winston all the time, so don't get upset. We're gonna always talk about Jonathan Winston of Connecting the Dots Therapy. He's someone that we will recommend you to go to for therapy. And listen, even if you don't want to do those kind of things, there's community mental health centers out there. There's 988 if you feel yourself going through a mental health crisis. There are so many resources for you, but don't do it by yourself. Don't feel like you got to do it alone. Okay? Okay, well, no problem.
We have a few thank yous.
We do.
Now, I hope y'all don't mind me pulling out my phone. We had such an overwhelming amount of support.
Now, listen, the support was, and I said it earlier, but I meant it. We were so overwhelmed with support. We had no idea this space was so, we know it was needed, but we didn't know it was this needed to where it was overwhelmingly supported. So we had some people that come that reached out and they wanted to be sponsors. So we want to make sure we highlight our February sponsors.
Yeah. So first we're going to start with our thank yous though. We want to first thank our live audience. Give yourselves a hand. Y'all was so good. Thank you for sitting in space with us today and being some of our safe people. We appreciate you guys. We want to thank our producer and our production assistants. Again, like she said, John, we thank you. We want to thank Brittany of Studio 119, accessories, graphics, and more. She was responsible for our graphics that you've been seeing, also with these beautiful sweatshirts. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Portia of Pelux Bouquets. She is responsible for those beautiful bouquets that we will be giving Veronica and Dalisha later. And lastly, our February sponsors. So we have Juan Smith of 49 Training and Tutoring. We have Kenya of Kenya's Forever Creations. We have Jerica of Path to Freedom. Channing Wells of Wells Vision. And we have August Irvin of Life Lessons Counseling. So pay attention to our social media pages because those people will be featured for the February sponsors. And also, if you are interested in being a sponsor and a donor, you can reach out on our email, whenmourningcomes22@gmail.com, or you can reach out to either Rhonda or myself. Rhonda only has Instagram.
That's it. And that's all it's going to be.
So yeah, I have Facebook or Instagram. You can reach out to me on there. Whichever, if you would like to be a sponsor or donor. And I think that's it. We just thank you guys so much again. And we appreciate you guys for the support on this journey. And
don't forget, we will be back the last Wednesday of the month at 8 o'clock. So this episode will air the last Wednesday in February. I think that's the 26th.
Well, you're actually speaking as the episode is airing. So it's actually airing now, February 26th.
Right. So you seeing it today on February 26th. We gonna edit that part out. So yeah.
Bye, Jesus.
So glad that we have people to assist us with our minds and our thoughts. But like we said, it's gonna air the last Wednesday of every month at 8 o'clock. And thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for coming in and welcoming us, being here with us, and we'll see you in the morning.
See you in the morning.
You thought the pain would never end. We've come to share some hope and help you read.